Sport bikes, guys and gals. There are some worrying signs that they're dying out. They're becoming an endangered species of motorcycles. We did a video about something similar recently with regard to super heavyweight motorcycles like this Kawasaki ZZR1400 here. Again, we're seeing very similar signs that sport bikes are a thing of the past. Yeah, it is very, very worrisome for, I don't know, for someone like me, man. I love sport bikes, and the thing is that a lot of innovation that happens around motorcycles comes from sport bikes, and then it trickles down into the other models. So I really think that sport bikes need to stay around. I think they need to stick around. But that's the thing, guys. Motorcycles, especially around Europe, they're becoming one of those things where the motorcyclist generations are getting older now. And most of these older generations of riders, they don't want sport bikes. They want something that is more comfortable or what have you. So it's always going to be the smaller bikes or kind of like, I don't know, touring bikes and things like that that may end up taking the market share away from these sport machines simply for practicality. And I mean, sales, you can clearly see that sales are like going down every single year for these kinds of machines. I don't know if it's because they're getting too expensive now or something like that, but can you imagine the amount of R&D that all these companies need to invest to build new sport bikes? It's a lot of money. Because these motorcycles, you know, they're pushing the limits of what certain engine types are capable of doing. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I have no idea how much money Kawasaki or Honda, Yamaha, Ducati, I have no idea how much money they spend every year on R&D on sport bikes. But you can pretty much guarantee that they will make more sales, they will make more money off of other bikes that are smaller, cheaper to manufacture, and can be sold to a larger group of people. Now, sport bike riders, I don't know what market share they have, but whatever it is at the moment, it's shrinking. And we can't let that happen, guys. We cannot let that happen. It would end up becoming almost like, what's the word? I don't know, like, it would end up being an industry that is almost like phones these days, mobile phones, cell phones. They're almost all the same. Even myself, I'm a bit of a tech enthusiast, and I do like to have as close to the latest and greatest as possible. But there hasn't been any real significant innovations within the cell phone industry for at least 5 years now. And yeah, you've got the whole folding phone thing, which is happening. It's coming on leaps and bounds, but again, that's you're looking at a very expensive phone at this point. And I just worry that this is where motorcycles are going, where the only way how these bikes are able to survive is if they become premium, you know? Gone are the days where you could get a sport bike for pretty cheap, or at least they are slowly disappearing. But like I said, guys, the technology within sport bikes, it trickles down. A great example, well, there are loads of great examples. I mean, ABS, for example, I think is one of those things that came about in sport bikes first, or premium motorcycles, sport motorcycles, and then filtered down. But things like, let's take the Ninja H2 as a perfect example here. That platform, a lot of the features of that platform got kind of filtered down to both the H2 SX and the ZH2, and they are absolutely awesome bikes as a result. They wouldn't be the bikes that they are without those Ninja H2 features like the supercharger. So we need those innovations, we need those kinds of motorcycles to kind of stimulate the industry, to create competition. Now, I have no idea how electric is going to change things as well, because as much as I hate to say it, unfortunately it's like that's what every company is going to do now. Electric is seemingly becoming the only viable option, even though there could be others, but most companies are kind of investing in the whole electric thing. And so that could be another nail in the coffin for sport bikes. Unless, of course, like I said, they're like in this premium category where, yeah, you're paying a lot of money for just a few more horsepower, you know? So, yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of the audience that we have on our channel are sport bike riders. So the enthusiasm is still there for sport bikes, but because they're becoming more expensive, because they are, I don't know, because the older generations are no longer interested in those kinds of bikes anymore, companies must be thinking to themselves, well, how the hell are we going to survive selling sport bikes? You know, we have to diversify. We have to do other things now to compensate. There would have been an era where sport bikes would have been probably the #1 seller in any of these companies' lineup. The sport bikes would be the best sellers. But now that is not the case. The nakeds are selling really well. Adventure bikes are selling really well, and touring bikes are also selling very, very well. Sport bikes, they seem to be going down the wayside. Because I mean, think about it. If you are a sport bike rider and your back starts hurting, or I don't know, you start getting carpal tunnel in your wrists or arthritis, your knees start playing up, you can't ride sport bikes anymore. So what's the next best thing? Adventure bikes, nakeds, and sport tourists. Touring bikes. Simple as that. So when you look at it like that, it's no wonder why the sport bikes may not be selling as good as they used to. But we have to keep buying them. We have to keep buying them. I don't like the way how the market is moving towards this premium kind of thing. It's like, well, take the Fireblade as an example. You used to be able to buy a Fireblade, was it for £16,000 here in the UK, brand new. Now they are £18,000 for the base model, and if you want the Triple R model, you're looking at about £25,000, £26,000, if I recall correctly. The Ninja H2, okay, yeah, it's a very, very specialist motorcycle in a lot of ways, but the Ninja H2 is going to set you back. Is it £25,000? £30,000, $30,000, something like that for a new one of those. I don't know about you, but I don't exactly have 30 grand sitting in my back pocket. So it would not surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Suzuki and Yamaha both end up going the same way. I mean, the 1000, the GSX-R1400, no longer a thing here in Europe anymore. They can't sell them. They haven't been able to remanufacture them to fit in with the new eco standards, so that's it. We're not having a GSX-R1000 anymore here in Europe. It already happened to the 600cc bikes a few years ago, and now it's happening to some of the bigger bikes as well. I mean, well, the ZZR1400, a prime example, and even stupid bikes, the stupid things like the Ninja 400. The Ninja 400 from Kawasaki is no longer in the lineup here in Europe. You can no longer sell it because of emissions laws, because stupid emissions laws. It's just absolutely, it's becoming ridiculous. A lot of these motorcycle manufacturers are going to have nothing left to sell other than bloody scooters at this rate. It's just, it is absolutely ridiculous. But that's the situation that a lot of these companies are finding themselves in. But it wouldn't surprise me if Suzuki ended up making a new sport bike, or it might not be a sport bike, but a new bike like a Hayabusa or something like that, or maybe like an 1100 or something, but is more premium, or even more premium than the Hayabusa. The Hayabusa, £16,000, you can get yourself a brand new 3rd gen Hayabusa. Not too bad, not too bad. But it wouldn't surprise me if they end up creating another motorcycle that ends up being in that 20-25k range, because it's like a lot of the time that's how companies survive, is either by creating machines that are we were able to mass sell them, or machines that are luxury and are very expensive. I don't know, it's weird. But I suppose this transition has been happening for, well, quite a long time now. I mean, I am curious about how much, say, a 1000cc sport bike would have been brand new, say in 2005. Because I bet you they would have been around about 12k. That's my guess, anyway. You know, I couldn't have afforded a 12k bike back then anyway. I mean, well, I was in school, so no, I wouldn't have been able to, but it would have been, even if I wasn't in school anymore and I was just getting into motorcycles at that point, or at least I just got my license and I was able to buy a 1000 sport bike, I wouldn't have been able to afford it back then. So the fact that a lot of these bikes are now becoming even more out of reach for a lot of people, yeah, it's a bit of a worrying sign. And like, I mean, the ZX-14R, Kawasaki's kind of new midweight sport bike, kind of like to replace the 600cc class here in Europe. 10 grand for that bike. Don't get me wrong, I mean, that is going to be one sick motorcycle. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Really teeny tiny strokes, teeny tiny cylinders. It's going to be an inline 4. Yeah, man, that's going to be one wicked motorcycle. But £10,000. Don't know about you, but that still is a premium bike for me at that displacement, you know? Go, go, go. Car stinks. It's only 2014. Oh dear. Yeah, guys and gals, this is becoming one of those things that becomes a tougher and tougher pill to swallow for both consumers and for companies. So, I mean, I suppose it's not too bad. I mean, one of the videos that we have coming out in the near future is going to be about Kawasaki and how building motorcycles is almost like a hobby to them, rather than I mean, of course it's a business, but they're a heavy industries company, so it's like, well, that's where they're going to make most of their money. Why would they bother with the motorcycle stuff? And it's because it's fun, because they want to, you know? It's kind of like a side project for them. And companies like that, I suppose there's going to be nothing stopping them from releasing crazy, wacky bikes that, I mean, 1000s back in the day were crazy bikes, and now they've just got even more insane. But yeah, you do kind of worry for companies like Suzuki and maybe even Yamaha, because motorcycles are a big part of their business. Suzuki, of course, are into their cars as well, but European sales of Suzukis aren't that strong. They're not that strong in America either, I believe. So you got to worry for companies like them, where, yeah, their business model is very, very dependent on their motorcycle sales. Yeah, I don't know, but definitely let me know what you guys think. Is it something that we should be worried about, or are sport bikes just going to be the status quo forever, just because there's always going to be room in the market for sport versions of motoring, whether that be in cars or bikes? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I suppose we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a tough one, guys, because I don't want to see sport bikes going anywhere anytime soon, and I actually intend to be a sport bike rider for as long as I possibly can, until my physical health basically allows me. So yeah, I don't know, it's a tough one. But definitely let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting debate here, because there might be some people out there that are like, well, there's no need for sport bikes, you know, they're kind of like just showpieces, so what's the point? Well, have you ever tried a sport bike before? If you haven't, you need to try one. Just try a sport bike, try a 600 or a 1000cc sport bike at some point in your motorcycle careers, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, that's where a lot of innovation happens, if not all the innovation. It's all in that class of motorcycles, all the sport bikes. Okay, and I'm talking about the inline fours, you know, the super sports, not kind of half sport bike, half sport tourer, things like that. I'm talking about the ZX-10R. I'm talking about the Fireblade. I'm talking about the R6. Motorcycles like that. GSX-R600, GSX-R750, 1000. The list goes on of motorcycles that have been heavily influential in certain motorcycle developments. Because I mean, think about it logically. You know, why would a company invest a load of money in R&D for a single bike? Well, they wouldn't. They've already got a production line set up, so if they can introduce some of those components trickle them down onto some of the bikes that are not quite top of the line, you know, like their sport tourers and things, then all of a sudden it makes their sport tourers more appealing to people, because you don't have to buy a sport bike to get the latest and greatest stuff. You can get some of that stuff in a naked or in a sport tourer these days, so it does make sense. So I think there is still some incentive there, but that incentive is probably going at an alarming rate, and this has been happening for a long time. Been happening for a long time. Probably the last 20 years this has been in the making. It's not something that just happens overnight. This is something that has been happening for a while now. Things like emissions and things have only sped along the process. But anyway, guys, like I was saying, I'm rambling on a bit now, so thank you ever so much for joining me on today's ride. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of today's video. As always, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, hit subscribe, definitely check out the next video that's coming up here on the end screen. I will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.